Farrik!
Welcome back to Dank Farrik, a Star Wars podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Tyler Mendelson, along with my co-host.
Carlos Gomez.
And today we're going to be doing a little bit of a discussion on the Bad Batch episodes 2 through 6.
We haven't talked about Bad Batch in a little bit. We talked about the pilot on May the 4th, and we want to catch up on everything that's happened since, from episode 2 to episode 6 right now, which is the latest one. As you all know, second episode started with the clones arriving to. Do you know the name of this clone? The deserter? Laquain? Or is like some.
Cut?
But that's like his. Didn't he have like a whole convoluted thing?
I can't remember. It's been
Yeah.
so long.
They hide with the deserter, and we of course hear that Rex had been hanging out there the day before. I bring this up because it'll tie in later, very recently actually, where it's the whole dramatic rule of Chekhov's gun. That whole thing that if you have a gun in Act One of the dramatic play, at some point somebody has to shoot it.
Yeah.
So the fact that they bring Rex up definitely means he's showing up, and we do know he's showing up from the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice that they do that little setup.
Yeah.
I mean, people know that, like, even from Mando in Mandalorian season 2, and I know I'm veering off, but they talk about Ahsoka before like 2 episodes before they ever show her.
Yes.
So it's that thing of introducing to the audience the idea that these people are gonna show up eventually, and something very similar, I think, happened in the latest episode, but we'll get there. And we see Omega hanging out with real kids, kids who haven't
Yeah.
been bred in a lab, and doing their thing. And Hunter learns that he has to be a father, really, more than a soldier. It's a really nice, cool, like after school vibe. We all learned something today type episode. But the cool connections there, I thought, was the tracking fob stuff. They talk about the Republic currency having to be changed uh, to the new currency, the Imperial currency, and by doing so, they put trackers on everyone.
Yeah. I like how they're... This is the kind of stuff that made me excited for Bad Batch. Is we're seeing not just what happens to the clones and how the Empire rises and stuff, but we actually see the changing of the galaxy and like the way that things transition from Republic to Empire, just like in the normal way of the world, which is very interesting because I mean we never really got any kind of explanation for all that stuff. So it's cool to see they're actually like tracking every civilian. At least they're trying to. Just the way that the empire is literally a dictatorship that controls everybody and everything.
Yeah, and they had like it also was very reminiscent of the beginning of Solo with the checkpoints, to
Yeah,
get out of Corellia. Like they even have that same thing that they put the coaxium through.
yeah,
They have the same thing, which is cool to see that transition because in movie wise, Solo is the closest thing to this show.
right. Yeah,
Well, Revenge of the Sith is, but I'm talking about forward.
afterward, yeah,
Um, so yeah, Omega becomes part of the team. They give her a nice room, uh, and they in the next episode they get stuck in a desolated moon. And, fun stuff happens. It reminded me of an Empire when they're stuck in the throat of the what's the name of the asteroid monster?
Exogorth.
Oh fuck! I did not know that.
Trivia time,
I
Carlos.
don't remember hearing that
Once
ever in my
again, I've
life.
stumped you.
Well,
And you've stumped me too.
I'm proud. I'm proud to not know that actually.
Oh,
But
I'm so
it
cool for knowing it.
yeah, I know.
Exogorth.
It had a lot of it reminded me of that scene,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're in the asteroid, like going around with the masks and
Mhm.
everything, and they're like energy monsters, which is
Yeah, they feed
um,
off of energy.
yeah, and they wanted the Omega's whatever.
Whoa,
What do
whoa,
you
whoa,
call it?
whoa. Refer to her by her actual name.
What do you mean?
It's Omega. I'm
Omega.
Omega.
Well, I don't have the Kiwi accent though.
Hunter, Rika, Tick, Echo.
We also start seeing that the Wrecker, he has like a head concussion,
Yes.
which doesn't bode well, because
Well,
we keep getting hints that he might, do the good soldiers follow orders.
yeah. Well, we hear it in this most recent episode, episode
Yes,
6. We actually
yes.
hear the phrase. So you know that his chip that is still in his head is starting to, short circuit or do something to where it's like starting to kickstart. So, but I mean, even if it did, would that mean that he would dissent from the other clones or, from the Bad Batch? Or would he only, if he reacted, would it be against a Jedi only?
Well, we already have a defector, and they imply that it's because of the ship, So
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
imagine that yeah, he would be he would probably defect because Crusher did.
Yeah. But they also like enhanced his
Right,
like
right. They juiced him up,
yeah.
but also like, what is he gonna do? Like, is he gonna kill? There's no Jedi anymore.
No. I mean Ahsoka, probably if they run into her, which it's alluding to, it might get there.
Right.
But
Well, that's a good point, but I don't
probably
know if
Kanan will come back. Kanan is definitely gonna come back into it, I think.
that's another Chekhov's gun thing where, they brought him up in the pilot. He has to appear again. I think.
The only reason why I could see them not bringing him back is because he has to have that hatred for clones from when Depa Billava died. And then in Rebels,
Mhm.
you see him like talking about this experience. Like he wouldn't have the positive experience of clones like Rex again after he meets the Bad Batch and like realizes that they're good, because like his revelation in Rebels was that
Yeah,
like all, he realizes that not all clones are the same, even though they're made the same.
that's a good point.
Yeah. So it's possible he doesn't come back.
But maybe he does come back, but he doesn't have enough time. Maybe he has another cameo where
Yeah.
Crosshair is like, because Crosshair is the one who gave Hunter shit about it. Like, you didn't kill that Padawan. I know you
Yeah.
didn't. So maybe
Yeah.
Crosshair is like, I'm gonna finish the fucking job. And
That's true. That would be
and
a good way for him to come back into it. Yeah.
yeah. But also, they say in the Clone Wars, and I think they probably added this line in the Clone Wars because of what we're talking about, is that Order 66 meant that they had to kill all Jedi leadership and anyone who didn't follow the program.
Yeah.
So if Hunter didn't follow Order 66, as we know from the what happened with Caleb, maybe Wrecker, that would be, instead, like, his whole defecting thing might
Yeah.
manifest itself where he wants to go after Hunter for disobeying Order 66.
Or maybe Crosshair could try to convert Hunter or Wrecker
Yes, that
to
too.
joining his
Join
cause.
me, and together
Yeah.
we will kill more people. Oh, I gotta bring this up though. There is a sick scene
A sex scene?
no, a sick
Oh.
scene. Yeah, you're in a different show. That's the accent. Don't blame it. Um, where in episode 3, when the Crosshair gets sent with these recruits to get rid of Saw Gerrera's platoon,
Yep.
and they start fucking everyone up, and then they're in front of civilians, and the recruits are like, fuck this, like, I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
And then Crosshair, it's like it's probably the darkest scene so far in the show, but
In this
also,
show, yes. Yeah.
yeah, and but it gives Clone Wars a run for its money in darkness,
Yeah.
because that one was fucked up.
Yeah.
They killed a bunch of kids,
Yeah. I mean, not even just the kids, but like
not just the men, but
when
the women
not just the men, but the
too.
women and the children too. No, but anyway, the for me, what was like the holy shit moment with that brutal scene was when he orders them to kill the civilians.
Mhm.
One of them had a flamethrower, and
Yes,
they just roast them. Like,
yes,
obviously we don't see it happen, but it's pretty fucking brutal.
yeah,
And he
and
and Crosshair just kills the one guy who's dissenting,
yes,
just like kills him like nothing, and says
yeah,
good soldiers follow orders again. And basically makes the others do what needs to be done for the empire,
Do
which
what must be
is
done.
obviously, evil acts. But it's he's trying to, you know, do what the chip is telling him to do, and it's proving something against Tarkin's belief, or at least his skepticism of the clones being able to carry on past post Empire, or post Republic, I mean, instead of switching to normal humans as stormtroopers, essentially.
Can I ask you? So let me ask you a deep question because I know you were in the military, where you
Hmm.
were a marine.
Yeah.
Um, do you think, is it any way, maybe it's a metaphor, I don't know, the whole thing about having the ships in their heads where they have to follow orders, and literally their line is "good soldiers follow orders," and I imagine it's like a very a soldier thing. Do you think
I mean,
it's sort of a metaphor for like whatever they give you in training, where they make you know, feel very specific things about certain things?
so yes and no. I mean, I like the fact that it's showing that blind loyalty is never a good thing
Hmm.
in reality. But also, while the military teaches you to follow orders, I've always been brought up in the Marines to where you're supposed to question your leadership if things don't feel right morally. And if somebody, like, let's say somebody gives you an order, like a superior, and they say something like, you're going to kill this innocent civilian, just for an example. Let's just throw that, like, curveball in there. They say kill this innocent civilian, and they're your superior. Technically, you're supposed to do what they say, but not in this case because it's an unlawful order.
Hmm.
So you would say this goes against the UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice. This goes against every moral thing that we stand for. This is not a lawful order, so I am not going to follow this. And instead, they would be able to be charged for, giving a unlawful order and trying to, commit that heinous act. So it's a two-way street. I mean, I don't think that the military is this kind of like mindless drone that is just like people following bad orders and like doing the wrong thing. But it is also tough in some situations where you are given an order and it might not stick out really obviously as like something morally wrong, but you still come away questioning what you should do.
Yeah,
There's
I
a lot
see.
of tough situations you run into and you just don't know what to do. So like, I don't know, did you watch that short film that I posted?
Yes.
Yeah, so like, you know, I had this split second of time to react to what could have been a guy barreling towards friends of mine in what could have been a suicide bombing truck. I didn't know if he was intending harm or not, but he's coming right towards my guys. And I have to decide, do I go with the rules of engagement and not fire on him because I can't tell if he's good or bad, essentially? Or do I take him out before he's able to do something? And then, you have a split second to make this kind of decision. It's very tough.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this is a time in the war when the government is changing,
Yeah.
right? So we're
And I mean,
transitioning.
the Republic was good,
Right. Well, yeah,
and now it's not. I mean, from a certain point of
from a
view.
certain point of view. But the Clone Wars always had a bunch of war crimes too. You know,
Oh, of
The
course. I mean,
Jedi
yeah,
particularly are like divine intervention. They do whatever they
yeah.
want.
Episode 3, evil is everywhere.
Yeah,
They're gonna
exactly.
call.
But that's kind of, I think that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of the message, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like, at what point do the good guys become bad guys because they just want to keep everything secure
yeah.
rather than free, you know?
Ayla Secura.
Halo secure. All right. Well, that was a whole detour into military
Yeah.
life, which I enjoyed. Um, So we also after that, after that whole episode, we get into the episode where the Bad Batch is running around and Fennec Shan shows up,
Yeah.
the bounty hunter that we encountered in The Mandalorian, played by
Hmm.
Ming Na Wen.
She's great.
She does, yeah, she's amazing. She does the
Honestly,
voice.
I was shocked when I found out her age.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
insane.
she's pretty old, and I thought she was in like her 30s or 40s. You know,
No, dude, she's like, I think she's like,
I think late 50s.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
very good.
amazing because she would look. She if she was live action in the show, she would look pretty much the same because she hasn't aged a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Um, and she's
So
still
I think
pretty kick
she's
ass.
22 in this show, if I remember correctly.
I haven't done the math, but
I read it.
yeah,
I read it somewhere, and I'm pretty sure it's 22 or
yeah,
23.
which tracks. I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense. And she's
Yeah.
pretty badass, which is cool because when we saw her in Mando, we saw her in briefly. Well, we saw her more in the finale of season 2 where she kicked ass, but we didn't get a really like a showcase moment for her,
Yeah.
and we did in this one with the speeder chase, which was pretty sick.
Very reminiscent of episode 2
Yes,
with Zam Wuzzle.
there are two moments that are very reminiscent in episode 2 in this string of episodes we're talking about, and one of them is in this episode, which is that Sam Wessel vibe, which
Yeah.
is also cool because we know later in life she's associated with Boba Fett. So
Yes.
Boba and Fennec and
Hmm.
Django and Sam, it's very reminiscent, I think. They're
Every
just
Fett needs a sick
yeah,
female counterpart. You know,
yeah.
the sidekick.
They're just men
Until they kill them.
trying to make their way in the universe.
Django just murders her.
Yeah, yeah, which I yeah. Well, we won't go into that because it will
Yeah.
nerd out. um, but yeah, so I love that we're getting these moments of connection. I think that's the second most direct reference to Mandalorian, which is the tracking fob and Fennec Shan.
Yeah.
And we still don't know who hired Fennec Shan, even though that episode was still it's not the latest one. Um,
So who are you speculating? Because for me, I believe the Kaminoans are the
well,
ones
yeah,
who hired her because
that to,
they
yeah.
need one of the Bad Batch back.
Yeah, that to me would make the most sense. However, wouldn't it be cool for it to be somebody else? Because
I
so
mean,
what are the Kaminoans?
depending who it is.
I don't know what the Kaminoans' intentions really are because
All
they
right.
say we
Well,
need to get ready for phase 2, right? What does that
yeah.
mean?
We just know that they have their goal is to stay within the Empire's
Good graces. Yeah,
usefulness.
exactly.
They because they they feel like they're being gypped after all this time of loyalty and support. Now they're just trying to cut them off and stop using their clones. The Jango Fett genome is dying essentially because it's been replicated so many times. It's a weaker genome, so they're trying to figure out what the hell to do, and they need members of the Bad Batch back, or at least one of them, because you know they're trying to stay in the good grace of the Empire. So
As soon as they
just for
said,
their own sake, not for the Empire.
as soon as they said that the Jango Fett genome was like not being useful anymore, I just thought like, why didn't you just go to Boba Fett? If he's pure genetic replication, wouldn't it be the same?
I thought that too because he's an unaltered clone.
Yeah.
But I mean, they don't know where Boba is at this point either.
Where is Boba?
Boba. So
No,
I am fully speculating and praying that he shows up, which I believe he will because they're doing the whole book of Boba Fett, so they're starting to show the Boba Fett love. But
and yeah,
I think they're really going to get into like his not origins, but his rise as a bounty hunter and becoming the best of the bounty hunters.
and we should. Well, we've talked about this, but my fantasy is we get to see the Cat Bane Boba Fett unresolved arc from the Clone Wars. We need to see
Yeah,
some
I
version
would
of
love
that
to see it.
in here, and Fennec Shan could
If
be in on
could
it.
you imagine though, if instead of seeing it in this, we see it in live action form in
You
Book
mean
of
like
Boba Fett
in
as
the
a
Book of Boba
flashback?
Fett as a
Yes.
flashback, or maybe they
Could you
rewrite
imagine
it?
how sick that would be?
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. but it'd be
So for
weird.
anyone who doesn't understand, there was a unfinished copy, basically like a storyboard online version of un, an unreleased episode
Mhm.
of Clone Wars where it showed how Boba got the dent in his helmet when he just gets his armor and he kills Cad Bane in a duel, which is very reminiscent of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. So to see that in like an actual cinematic form would just be incredible.
Yeah, and I don't know if Cad Bane survived that encounter.
Yeah. Well, I don't
It's
think he did because
very
that's what
unclear.
gives Boba Fett his reputation, I think.
Hmm.
But, we never
Yeah.
finished the episode, so we don't know.
Yeah. So yeah. So question mark. Who hired Fennec Shan? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
We then get an episode where the Bad Batch goes to get a baby Rancor, which
And that's the other question. Is the Rancor the one from Jabba's
I
palace that
mean,
we see in episode 6?
it has to be.
Here's the only issue with that. It is known.
That's Legends.
No, not necessarily though, because the Aftermath novel wasn't Legends.
Wait, did the Aftermath novel say that it was
Aftermath novel said that its name was Patessa and it
the
was a
name of the
male.
Rancor in Jabba's palace?
Yes, the name of the Rancor in Jabba's palace was Patissa,
Hmm.
and it was a male. And the one
Mm.
shown in this episode was a young female with what was the name?
Muchi.
Muchi.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe
huh.
maybe he just has
Maybe
multiple
it's an
Rancors, or
offspring. Maybe it's an offspring
it's
of
yeah, it's
Muchi.
possible. Yeah. How long do
Because,
Rancors live?
what's
We
the
don't know.
lifespan of a Rancor? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
we don't know.
But it was pretty kick-ass to see the Rancor in action, though, and it was a
It
baby
was cool.
Rancor.
I don't think we've ever seen a Rancor in any other format except for
No,
maybe like video games,
video
like
games. Yeah,
Force Unleashed, but that's
Knights of
it.
the Old Republic. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's great to see one in an episode. We haven't seen that.
yeah, and we also get Bib Fortuna, which as soon
Yes.
as he showed up,
Iwanawanga. Except he
uh,
had more of the Matt Wood voice
yeah,
uh from the final episode of Mando.
yeah, they're trying to bridge that gap, I guess.
Yeah.
And he wasn't fat anymore.
He was not fat yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But everything, because of the fact that Viv Fortuna is there, everything to me points out that the Rancor, that's the same Rancor than Jabba's palace. But as I say, it could be an offspring or something. I don't know. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
retcon it. I mean, they already retconned the Kanan comic
Right.
with the
Yeah.
pilot. So,
It's totally possible, and
and I
I'd
don't
be
give a
okay with
shit.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would be okay with that. I think it's cool for them to show in film or TV format explanations for how things came to be the way they are. So if we see the origin of the Rancor in Jabba's palace, that's awesome.
yeah, and
It's
we
just
also,
world building.
yeah, we get a great new character, which it's probably my new favorite character in the show, which is Sid. Is that how you pronounce
Sid.
it? Sid.
Sid.
Was it the Trandoshan lady who gives them missions and stuff? And she has like a bit of an attitude, and
Her voice
I,
sounds so
I relate to
familiar. Who
her
does the
a lot.
voice?
I don't know who does the voice of Sid,
I'm
but
looking it up
she
right
has
now.
a great personality.
Yes.
Yeah. So we also see slavers in this version of the Sigurians in that episode,
Yeah.
which we knew from an arc in the Clone Wars, the slaves of Kadavo arc in season
Hmm.
4, which I really enjoy the fact that they're bringing up a bunch of elements from the Clone Wars, even stuff that at the time when you watch the Clone Wars kind of felt fillery.
Yeah.
I like that they're kind of fleshing stuff out and make it feel more essential,
Hmm.
and make it feel like it counts more
Right.
this time around, which
Yeah.
is the same thing with the deserter and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
Um, and the newest episode, the decommissioned. Um, so this is another one that reminded me of Attack of the Clones, and it's because the Bad Batch goes to Corellia off of Sid's intel, or whatever,
Hmm.
and they are trying to get a commando, not a commando. What's the name of the droid? The ranking of the droid. They're trying to
Uh,
get a droid, a strategic head,
yeah.
strategic droid, something like that. You know what it is.
Strategy droid. The
Strategy droid. Um,
Yeah, the
and
Intel droids, I think, right?
Intel droids, right?
Yeah.
Well, and they go into some place in Corellia that reminded me a lot of the droid foundry in Geonosis because
Hmm.
of the conveyor belt and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
And Tyler, who did they run into?
Um. Oh God. the
You forgot?
Martez, the Martez sisters. As soon as they showed up, I was like, "Oh no, no, no!"
Yes,
God.
yes.
They weren't as unbearable in this episode.
They
I
were
will
fine. They were
say that.
good.
Yeah, they were fine. Thank God. I think Dave Filoni really listened. He's like, I think he liked to introduce those characters, and then when he realized, like, oh shit, people really don't like them, like, I need to make them a little bit more competent or cool.
I don't think so. I think it's all planned from. It's all part of the plan.
Mumbo jumbo.
A bunch of mumbo jumbo. Um, no, but see, this is another thing that I enjoyed the show is doing, which is the last season of Clone Wars. We when the last season of Clone Wars came out, we didn't know about the Bad Batch show.
Yeah.
So the Bad Batch got introduced at the in the last season of Clone Wars. Then we get to see at the end Echo becomes part of the Bad Batch. But at that point, you're like, what the fuck? Like the show is over. Who like
Yep.
what does it mean? Like, and then we get to see the Martez sisters arc, and Ahsoka meets them.
It's great to see that their arc now had a fucking reason.
That arc had a reason. We also heard in that arc at the end that Ahsoka was gonna come back to see them at some point,
Yeah.
which we were also like, when if the show is about to end in 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And well, the Siege of Mandalore was very eventful in and of itself, so there's no
Yeah.
need to. But those two arcs, even in the Siege of Mandalore, actually, when they say like Fulcrum, and they were like, "Oh, Saw Gerrera, maybe the Siege at Alderaan had a turn for the worse."
Yeah.
Even that was setting up stuff in the Bad Batch. The
Right.
the appearance of Depa Billaba and Caleb Doom in the intro of
Mm-hmm.
the last arc, and so there's these little things that they plant in the last season of Clone Wars that felt like
Yeah.
standalone. Now
Yep.
you can see there was a bigger plan
Yeah.
to
It just
extrapolate.
feel it just feels like Bad Batch is literally a season of Clone Wars.
Yeah, yeah. And we see the Martez sisters, and they do their thing, and they're nice. I like them. I don't know why people hate them so much. I think they're very
Well,
very important for the
I
story.
think I think they were very hateable in the Clone Wars, but in this they were fine.
Yeah, what I liked in this one in this latest episode, that not only did they appear, but they were different. They grew. Like one of the characters, I think the older sister, Rafa, says uh, something to the effect that she learned that you need to stand for something,
Yeah.
and that's definitely something she learned.
Everybody picks a side.
Right. She learns that through Ahsoka, really,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's cool because we see the growth, and it's not
Yeah.
just a gratuitous cameo,
Yes.
but rather
Agreed. Yep.
character development. But the biggest thing about that, well, we also see Omega trying to shoot a bow she can't. But the coolest thing about this episode, or the big mystery, the last scene, is that they're reporting to somebody, some rebel, I guess. Uh, who the fuck is it? I don't know.
I fully know who it is.
Who is it?
I will make a bet right now.
They said
I'm,
him, by
I'm
the way. It's a
Well,
male.
yeah, no, you could clearly tell in the so you see you don't see a silhouette, but you see just like a over the shoulder shot, or I think it was like a cape shot, or like a lower shot of a
Mhm.
hologram of a person looking at them. And so if you hear the music, you hear the Force theme, and I'm going to relate this exact moment to in Rogue One
Mm.
when we first see Bail Organa. It is the exact same thing. And you know that they're doing this because they picked a side and they're clearly fighting against the Empire.
Oh, that's a good point.
Bail Organa is the one who basically started the rebellion with Mon Mothma and all them. And the same exact theme plays when you see his hologram there as it was when it was introduced in Rogue One. And it just it feels perfect to me because then you know that Ahsoka is working with Bail and the Martez sisters are helping them as well.
That was my pick too.
Yeah,
and even further than that, there was the Ahsoka novel that came out a couple years ago
yeah, yep,
that takes place immediately after the Clone Wars ends, where we
yeah,
see what happened to Ahsoka.
right,
She killed an Inquisitor, and that's how she got her white lightsabers.
right,
And at the end of that book, I remember Bail Organa picked her up somewhere. They find out that he finds out that she's alive, and then that's sort of when she becomes Fulcrum.
yep,
Uh, maybe I'm not sure the timeline of this, but at this point, maybe Bail Organa and Ahsoka have already linked up, and the Martez sisters meet Bail Organa through Ahsoka
yeah,
and become sort of agents of the rebellion.
yeah,
Uh, so it makes complete sense, and it's also cool to see Bail Organa to like do the rebel thing pretty early on.
yeah.
Like he doesn't wait 20 years like we might assume.
I
Um,
wouldn't have assumed so, just because like the seeds were already in motion in Revenge of the Sith. I don't think he would have waited long at all. Just like Saw Gerrera didn't wait long at all.
hmm,
They were just both two very different people with different ideas of how to fight the Empire.
yeah, you know who I think could pop up and would be cool.
Who?
Now that we're seeing Rebels, Cassian Andor. I don't know how old he would be.
Uh,
Maybe. Well, he's been in this fight
he's
since
just
he was
6 years
6 years
old.
old, and he
Yeah,
was a
but
separatist, and that would be a really cool, interesting point of view to see a separatist dealing with the aftermath of the Clone Wars.
yeah,
And
You know what? I really believe he will show up eventually.
that would be a cool connection.
Yeah,
You just have to get some Mexican kid to do the voice, and you're golden.
or they're just gonna get fucking
No,
what's
but
his
it
name?
depends how young. How young.
Oh,
We don't want
does
to
it
see. We don't
matter?
want to see.
Does it matter now? Because Kane and Jarrus
Yeah,
sounded
but
the
that
exact same
wasn't
as a
cool.
boy. No, it wasn't, and everyone
So
shit on it.
no, it does matter. We don't want to hear that
Yes.
shit.
No, I agree. It definitely does fucking matter.
Yeah, but so yeah, so who do you guys think it's this person that hired the Martez sisters? Who is the person who hired Fennec Shan? Those are the mysteries that the Bad Batch is laying out before us now. Please let us know in the comments below. Um, but yeah, thank you guys for listening in to
Yeah.
our discussion of the Bad Batch.
We're gonna have more to come. Sorry, we've been a little stagnant. It's been about a month since our last episode, but we're just
Mm,
trying not to release episodes with like pointless discussion on basically like not enough material. So we would rather space them out if we need to. We're not always going to do that. We actually have more stuff to talk about this upcoming week, so we're going to get into that, and then we're going to pick up right back where we left off with the Bad Batch stuff. So
yeah,
stay tuned.
and may the force be with you.
Always.
Dank Farrik.